Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello, and welcome to League Unlocked. That is Mark. My name's Eric. It's the end of the weekend, which means it's time to recap all the action that was. There's no Europe. They had the week off because of all these super weeks they're getting in. So they got to just sit back and enjoy the absolute spectacle that is the North American LCS. And it's a spectacle.
I don't know if that's exactly how I would be using my precious week off by going down and watching some of the LCS region action and the quality that you're getting there. But hey, if you're looking for some laughs on your off week in the LEC, the For Fun region is where it's at.
It's about entertainment, and that's what NA delivers. And it was a crazy week. Not at all what anyone would predict, and we are living in a bit of a bizarro world. We knew it would probably happen eventually. That is Cloud9 dropping a game, but I did not expect it to be at the hands of their former jungler contracts, absolutely pumping them on Olaf, and them not picking up a single turret or neutral objective in the game. This is the hardest stomp we've seen Cloud9 get in all of 2020.
It's one of the hardest stomps that we've seen in the LCS this summer split, and that is crazy to think that it would be Cloud9 on the receiving end of this one. You looked at what happened this weekend. They absolutely pumped TSM in their big-time rivalry match, the one that had been hyped up for weeks that we wanted to see, and people
most
were
hype
hoping
videos we've ever seen, the LCS.
Right, and the most content we've seen from the LCS in a long time, and people hoping that we would see a big-time showdown match. Nah, it didn't happen. Cloud9 was the ones that showed up and took it down. But let me tell you what, it's the tale of two different Wukongs this weekend for Cloud9, because whatever was going on in the 100 Thieves one, that was not the same monkey that was taking down TSM.
Yeah, it might be the last time we see Sven on it, which is, it might not be true, because he looked great against TSM, and you're like, wow, interesting. Everyone else, it's the Senna goes to the AD carry player, the Wukong is the support, but Sven says, nah, man, I got the monkey. And looks great against TSM. Very bad against 100 Thieves. But, man, contracts on the Viking, bro. 10-1-7. He was flashing the 2017 Cloud9 emote. The changes look great for 100 Thieves. And it's a one-off, zero concern to have for Cloud9. But it does make me a lot more impressed with 100 Thieves.
I think if anything for Cloud9, it does make you say, you know what, you need to be a little bit more, I guess, aware or respectful in your draft situations of how you approach these matches. I think that was part of the issue against 100 Thieves in this one. But when you also think about, yes, on the 100 Thieves side, this has to be able to be sustainable. Continuing this level of play, or even close to it, is what you need to be a real playoff contender in North America. And when you're looking at what they do, it's contracts, as you said. He popped off big time in his performance. We've seen contracts pop off here and there. Even on his times with Golden Guardians, we saw that. The problem has always been consistency. Having that happen week in, week out, match to match, that's the type of progress we need to see from his career, and let alone for the 100 Thieves to continue this success. They need that to keep going.
Really bad look, and feels bad, man, for Meteos with how he exited the team, some of his tweet decisions, and now you have contracts handing Cloud9 their first loss of the split. Again, zero concern for C9. Sure, they had a bad day, bad draft, didn't perform well on the Rift. Call it whatever you want. It's going to happen. That's why it's so incredibly difficult to stay undefeated. Zero, and I mean zero, concerns for Cloud9 after this loss. Maybe slightly more than zero concerns for a team like Team Solo Mid. I think, Mark, with all the hype that was going around, all these videos of C9 versus TSM, I think they forgot they had a second match on the weekend, because they did not show up against Immortals.
Yeah, like, look, we can talk a lot about the C9 matchup and all the mistakes that happened there, and how you're clearly, or at least not playing at that level that is necessary to beat a team like Cloud9, or the way that Cloud9 was playing on that Saturday at the very least. But you think about moving forward and how that match went against Immortals, you're absolutely right. They showed no signs of being a team that deserves, to be anything considered seriously in playoffs, as well as, I hate to say it, but it seems like an issue on the top side appears every year. Last year, couldn't play against the Aatrox. This year, can't play into the Ornn. And look, I know Ornn at various points this year has been completely untouchable in how incredibly busted he's been in the top side. He's not quite in that position right now. And so to be able to not have an answer for him consistently on that top side from Broken Blade, and again, it's not about having a jungler there type of thing. It is very clearly Broken Blade having a struggle with these type of matchups is something that needs to be addressed for TSM if you want to be a top team.
And it's, I mean, there was questionable plays across the map for TSM, Doublelift and Biofrost just pushing mindlessly when they even have vision and then just getting ganked easily. But TSM honestly didn't start playing this game until they were backed up to Nexus turrets. They had 2 turrets the whole game, 0 objectives until they got an Elder Dragon at the end, which is when Aphelios almost saved this game. The 200 years almost made you forget how bad the early game was for TSM, but couldn't quite get it done. 1 Elder Dragon the entire game. That's just invisible action in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, completely invisible. And you're right, that basically came down to the very end of Immortals maybe making a mistake here or there and pushing a bit too much. And even at that point, you had to have the Zillion ult on an incredible short cooldown to get there to save the 200 years of Aphelios to get him back up to dish out more of that 200 years damage.
Yeah, he had to press Q again.
And that's only one team fight for TSM, and it clearly led to the Elder Dragon, which led to Baron on the other side, which was very easily waited out and then stomp TSM, and that's how that game ended. A very poor showing this weekend from the Team Solo mid squad.
And this was the week we said, listen, back to back, almost 3 weeks in a row, TSM's looking better. Maybe this is the time they can jump in fully, that second best team in North America, and you could start whispering, maybe even put them in that top 20 for the global power rankings. After this weekend, they're not getting there in summer. That's it.
No, especially, I mean, the performance against Cloud9 was disheartening enough, thinking about them in the power ranking situation, about, a very clear answer that they're not up to that level to be considered, let alone in North America, but around the world. And then this one, to drop this one against Immortals, if they've managed to even secure this one, you still would be looking at it as a very poor weekend.
And now it's an easy conversation for who the second best team in NA is. It's Team Liquid, even though some of their wins have been incredibly suspect, and even at against Golden Guardians this week, the early game wasn't perfect, what you'd be looking out of, but as a whole, Tactical has absolutely lived up to the hype, and you wonder why he's been in Academy for so long. Core JJ is still one of the best supports in the LCS. All of a sudden, Team Liquid is only 1 game behind Cloud9.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned both Tactical and Core JJ, because that's my focus. I mean, everything else is still really positive for Team Liquid. Broxa has been fantastic the last couple of weeks, really showing what he is and why you want to bring a player like this into your organization. Jensen, he's been pretty darn good on Azir duty, but taken off Azir duty this weekend as well and did just fine. And as you said, though, Tactical, Core JJ, Tactical has been more than a steady improvement, actually, and that's to say how bad Doublelift was last split. And then Core JJ himself is really playing again to that world champion level form that we know that he can bring to the table, and especially alongside someone young like Tactical, increases that value tenfold.
And Tactical has been better than Doublelift this year too. Like, comparing Doublelift on TSM in 2020, I'm still taking Tactical 5 weeks in. So Team Liquid right there behind Cloud9 at 8-2. Still a huge gap between Cloud9 and anyone else, despite it just being 1 game. But the rest of the standings, it's becoming Bizarro World, especially in Week 5. You had TSM going 0-2, and then you have 100 Thieves stomping Cloud9 to go 2-0, and Dignitas not only picking up their first win, but going 2-0. 100 Thieves and Dignitas going 2-0. I don't know who had that pegged for this week, but somehow it happened.
Nobody. No, I'm not accepting anybody, even the most diehard of fanboys, having those ones predicted out. Look, the one that I really want to focus on of those 2-0s is the 100 Thieves story, and we have talked about it a little bit already, but it is going to be about the consistency. Can we see these members that have struggled with it before deliver this level of performance again next week and the week after and the week after that? Because that's going to be necessary for 100 Thieves to keep climbing and keep proving themselves as a legit team to consider.
And for Dignitas on the other side, it's been without Froggen. Phoenix has come in as the starting mid laner. Afro has looked tons better than he did throughout all of the spring split, and really what this team is built to do, because they're not going to make any noise in playoffs, I don't think. This is just to build up the stock of Johnson. And this is an example I love to bring up. Forgiven on the 0-7 Schalke. He says, this team's no good. Why am I playing here? Dignitas was no good for a while, but it was consistently, well, Johnson's performing pretty well. And you look at his AD carry numbers across the board, he's near the very top, which is incredibly impressive when your team starts, 0-8. So Johnson, regardless of how his time ends with Dignitas this split, there's going to be teams that are interested in him. Absolutely no doubt.
It's been very clear throughout the entirety of this split. This is not a player that's going to, this is the very cap of his ceiling, obviously, or let alone anything about building further. It's a clear good sign that this year has gone the way it has. And as you said, being able to look at a situation and have a team that wasn't really performing at all to any degree, and to find something out of it, to salvage something out of it, to keep improving out of this type of situation, got to give the thumbs up for that.
Yeah, and who knows, if he stays on Dig, they should do all they can to keep him up. But working alongside Afromu, just happy to see Dignitas and Johnson finally getting some wins. It's a long road when you start as poorly as they did. But the team that lost to both of them, by the way, FlyQuest, 0-2 again. I don't know what's going on with FlyQuest. They were in the conversation to be that second best team in NA, and then they lose to 100 Thieves and Dignitas, and I don't know what to think. Are we bringing Wild Turtle back now?
I think you might bring Wild Turtle back. Not necessarily that, MASH has been the actual problem for this FlyQuest roster and what's been going on. It hasn't been his performance really sticking out either as a reason to be a standout star on this team. Look, I think you need to try and go back to what type of magic you had going earlier on in the year, in the summer split even as well. That is where I'd be focusing if I'm FlyQuest, because right now, this trajectory, the way things are sliding, very dangerous given the way that things are turning around kind of for this middle and back end of the pack for North America. Things are looking up for them. And if you're at the very top towards middle of the table and you're sliding the way FlyQuest are, it is a very dangerous situation to possibly miss out on even North America's playoffs.
And it's really the bigger issues have been their stars from last split in Ignar and Power of Evil, because Ignar's been dying a lot more than we're accustomed to seeing unnecessarily, which is the support way, of course. And Power of Evil, some of these Cassidon flanks this weekend were, yikes. Whoops. I thought you had the flank, and then you just get blown up before you can even rift walk. So not stuff we're accustomed to see out of the two best players from FlyQuest that we've seen over the last couple of splits. Last little bit on North America, we got to touch on Fiesta of the Week. It wasn't really a fiesta. That's not fair. CLG versus EG. I say fiesta because really it was just back and forth, and it was very entertaining. 4 Barons, 2 Elders, and 18 total turrets needed to end this game. Anytime you're having 4 Barons, I'm calling it a fiesta. That's all.
It was a fiesta. I'll agree on that terminology, but I certainly will say I'll take this fiesta over the times that we had with the 60-minute Immortals and TSM matches that we had in springtime.
They were fighting and making plays. They were trading across the map.
This is actually an entertaining fiesta that was going on.
And what it does is they tie up at 5-5. It's 0-2 again for EG to drop to 500. And the Jizuke special on that Echo, he makes an incredible play. And then he gets caught out and dies 1v4. You also had the Riven pick for Kumo, which I don't know. When Kumo subbed in for Cloud9, he looked like a future star of the league. I don't know what happened when he came to EG. Riven's supposed to be his pick, and he almost didn't look comfortable on it.
Yeah, it was not a good look, and especially a very bad look this weekend for Evil Genius. Along the lines of FlyQuest, these teams that we had been talking about looking to provide that challenge for Cloud9 at the very top of the table, TSM clearly not there. FlyQuest and Evil Geniuses, their answers even more so not there this weekend.
It's 100 Thieves.
And as we just said, it is a dangerous world right now in North America when you have teams like 100 Thieves, teams like Dignitas making these 2-0 weekends, climbing up the board. A squad like Evil Genius, a squad like FlyQuest, if this trend continues, You're on the outside looking in on the 18 playoffs in North America, which, hey, if you're not in the top 10 of the 8 teams in North America, you are incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, anyone who finishes the bottom two at NA, it's a rough look back and recap of what happened in the summer split. And so Sunday, Cloud9, the perfect run comes to an end. Monday, the streaks just keep on getting snapped. We go over to the LPL and Victory 5. Are you PP leaving now? They take down TES. They do it in dramatic, exciting fashion. It was a fantastic series, and they showed diversity in taking down the consensus best team in the world. They did it with an early game comp in the first game with the Graves and a Callista, and then they lose game 2, but game 3 they come back with a Kale and a Felios for more of a scaling comp. What an incredible series. Maybe Top didn't play to their highest levels, but Victory 5 was with them fight and fight again. They look great, and they are living up to the hype that we've set up for them.
I want to separate this series into the first 2 games, and then we can talk about game 3 a little separately. The first 2, absolutely, this was what you wanted in this matchup. This was what we had been hyping up. This has been PP God and Victory 5, way standing up to top esports, undefeated top esports at this point, and really proving that, look, we were 0-16 in spring. We're nowhere close to that level of play now. And look how far we've come. They really brought it out of the gates in game 1 to get that first one, Top bouncing back in game 2. And then you get to game 3. And what I want to talk about here is that I think when we get this rematch, we get this type of fight again, if we ever get it, this is where I'm watching, because I want to see these teams redo a game 3, because I think the draft on this one is a big slip up from the side of Top. You just simply had not the composition that you needed into someone like, as you said, Kale and Aphelios, 200 years, really possible there. I think LS describes it even better, that, you got 4 out of 5 of your champions are melee. They want to get right in Aphelios' face, but nobody's got anything to lock him down. And Aphelios hits his items. 200 years is equated, and it is GG for Victory 5.
And especially if, okay, you have the assassination AD carry in Kaisa, but Jackie Love was so behind this entire game and this entire series. Him and Yu Yanjia, sure, PP God had some great engages and great gank setups, but the key is gank. They were getting camped almost 3 out of 3 games. You almost felt bad. Yu Yanjia had 3 Nautilus games in a row, and Jackie Love, in a 3-game set, I don't think you'll ever see him die 14 times again across those 3 games. But, I mean, V5 made a point of running it down the bot lane, and it was not a fun time for Top's bot squad.
Right, and again, I would love to see a rematch of this with the draft for obviously a game 3 type of situation. Very different, a little bit more thinking coming through on the Top esports side. But you got to give full credit to Victory 5 and what they did in this full series to come away with the victory. And as you said, they did some dirty work down in that bot side to put Jackie Love so far behind, and that doesn't happen by just fluke.
Yeah, and he was still making the same plays you're accustomed to seeing him make on Kaisa with the aggressive ultis into the backline. The problem is he was stuck on 2.5 items for half the game, so he just didn't have the damage to actually assassinate anybody. You saw that a couple of times. He would get back there and just couldn't kill anybody. Absolutely deserved win for Victory 5. And listen, Top only have 4 games dropped the entire split so far. Now you have half of them are at the hands of Victory 5. They're only 1 series behind them at 8-2. These guys are legit contenders to make it to Worlds out of the already stacked LPL.
And again, in case anyone's not picking this up as well, this is the Top that just absolutely dumpstered FPX just before this
2
matchup
days
against
ago.
Victory. Right, just against Victory 5. And so, yes, we are talking about the game 3 and everything else, but man, look at this power that Victory 5, PP God, and the boys are bringing. It's legit.
And Weiwei, PP God, the name has everything, but Weiwei has been one of the best junglers in the entire LPL, and he was putting it down against Karsa in some of these early, mid, and late games, battles over objectives. So Top, the perfect run comes to an end. Still believe they're the best team in the world, but Victory 5, man, they're coming. They're coming for that crown. And things open up a little bit when teams like T1 over in the LCK are going up against Team Dynamics, and I don't really know how to describe this. It's this slow, it's not even a slow play style. There were times at game 3 where you heard the casters and Atlas and the boys saying, what's T1 doing? They're just giving up dragons for free, not even contesting. Oh, they snuck a Baron. Whoopsie, guys. Whoops. You can't blame this series on draft.
No, and even when you do look at the draft, it still is a little bit wonky on the side of T1, and that is a trend that we know continues with Coach Kim. But absolutely, you're right. Very much the biggest problems here were clearly macro decision making from T1 was not on par with what it needed to be in order to even match up with team dynamics on the day, as well as what you've been seeing in the trend. This was not what you wanted from T1. This was a week that you needed to get more of a solid answer, more of that trend back towards the very top of the table. Not what you're seeing here. This was slow, painful play being punished by the side of team dynamics. And you know what? I'm the T1 fanboy. I'm the T1 fan here. And I'm still happy to see this victory come through for Team Dynamics, because that level of play, that style of play, that should not be what T1 is looking for right now. And look, you got to say it. Heroes of the Storm Faker Rich coming through, beating down League of Legends Faker. So that's all you got to say.
Yeah, he's right up there for MVPs, by the way. He's tied for second with 5 to his name. But here's my very rough theory. It's purely speculative. I obviously don't know if any of this is true, but it seems like the sickness that is Aphelios, and he's being picked all over the place, of course, but it almost seems to make drafting and even playing on the Rift a little bit lazy for teams. You just pick the Lulu, you have Aphelios. It's almost like, whatever. Let's get to 30 minutes when this guy has 3 items and we have Lulu shields. The rest of the game's irrelevant. And that almost happened in this game, despite giving up so many objectives. Teddy popped off a couple of fights, but then it ends up him getting caught out, and T1 loses the game. But too much reliance on Aphelios, it feels like.
But that's what we're talking about, right? That is the laziness, the patience on T1 side that they're trying to put through in this match. But thankfully, Team Dynamics says no. They recognize it right away and say, look, that's not how we want to be playing League of Legends. That's not how we want to see this match go. And we are going to punish you for trying to just stall out and get to this 200 years point with the items, but we're not going to be able to do anything. They did not let that happen, even in the hands of someone like Teddy, which I don't want any of this blame on Teddy for why this didn't work out. He did the best he could this series. It was a lot of inactiveness and bad macro decisions on the other side of T1 that absolutely led to this loss.
And T1 now has the longest game time in the LCK at 33 minutes and 45 seconds on average. That is a full 4 minutes longer than the fastest game time that Damwon is putting up so far in the LCK. So even when T1 does have some leads, they're closing out a little slower than you would like to see. And that's not the meta in Season 10. It's go, go, go. Just wait till we get G2 in peak form back on the Rift. The other LCK match I want to talk about was on the Saturday, so a couple days ago now, but it was the battle for first. Dragon X versus Damwon. I would say it lived up to the hype. It was a very back and forth series. There was obviously so much mechanical prowess on the Rift between these two squads. Chovy ends up picking up a couple of MVPs. And the game 3, you feel like Damwon had a legit chance to win this game. Nuggery was so disgustingly fed on this Camille, but he just got a little too hypey in some of these team fights. He saw the highlight play. He saw the 1v3 penta coming. And of course, couldn't quite connect.
Didn't hit the skill shot there that you needed.
You got to land the hook shot, yeah.
Because I'll say it, the way that he was playing, how fed he was, if he hits it, I don't know. My money's on him finding a way to turn it around and get that through, even in that 1v3. But nope, wasn't for it, and wasn't for Damwon as well. This was a really great matchup against DRX. This one did deliver what you wanted from a top of the table showdown. But you're right, it is DRX once again, and Chovy in the squad coming out on top.
Yeah, and I think, especially in the game 3, it was a very big bot difference, and that's continually looked at as the weaker point of Damwon. Even though Beryl has been playing fantastic, Deft is still going to be Deft. It was Chovy, like I mentioned, picking up both of the MVPs. And Kyria, can we start a petition? Can we get this guy back on some playmakers? Braum, Tom Kench this series. Get that out of here. I want to see him making some plays around the map.
Yeah, hold on. This is our man. When we're saying that this young gun is the best in the world, one of the best in the world, and is gonna be the best in the world at his position. We're saying that when you take the chains off and you let our man make some plays, have some little bit of fun around the map. Brom duty. Look, he's not Yankos. Come on, man. This ain't fun.
Yeah, and even Tom Kench, sure, he had some great devours, but I don't want to be clipping highlights. Whoa, that Tom Kench devour. Holy smokes. When we've seen what this guy can do on Bard,
Kenches,
on
please.
Pike. Come on. Give me more out of that for Kyria. But DRX stays at the top of the table at 7-1, and Damwon. The biggest matches, they're still not quite there, but they still have been one of the most dominant teams in the LCK in summer so far. 29 minutes is their average game time. That's how quickly they're pumping some of these teams. I really want to see Damwon be one of the representatives from the LCK at Worlds. We know how competitive that top 4 is going to be, though. But for now, I still like Damwon.
I would love to see Damwon there, and that's as we get even more so towards hopefully having Worlds, and we can talk about that another time. When you're looking at summer, you're looking at how these matches have gone. Damwon is sitting pretty good towards that top of the table in the LCK, and a rough week from T1. I'm still very confident them holding their position here for playoffs, but you look at them and looks like it might be another full gauntlet run for Faker and the boys if they want to add a summer title.
Which is not unheard of. I mean, that's almost... They seem to have one split they dominate, are the top team, and then win in playoffs. And then one split is, all right, we got to do the full playoff run. It's like they want more practice with the LCK format. We need more than one best of to get going, because right now they're tied with Afrika in game score at 5-3 for 5th, that final playoff spot. Obviously, quite confident T1 will make playoffs, but even if they're that 5th seed, the other teams are scared to match up against them when it's best of 5s.
Hey, big match this week coming up. Got to take care of KT to keep them in the playoff picture, but that is going to be a big time telecom war that always delivers.
Yeah, and when you got Smed back on the Rift, bring out the support Maokai. Can't get enough of that. Faker versus Smeb renewed the rivalry of old. That's all the time today, though, for League Unlock. Mark and Eric here with you guys. As always, thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we'll catch y'all on the flippity flop.